All right, so today we're gonna talk about reliability for the average golfer, for the golfer that doesn't really practice that much, and how some of the mental approaches that you are taking to your golf game and your golf swing are really ruining the reliability. And the only thing that you really need for more reliability is 3 shots. 1, a reliable tee shot, a reliable wedge game, and reliable putting. And those aren't that hard to achieve, and I'll talk about why I feel that way. But the reliable tee shot is where most people, I'm imagining, are wasting their strokes. Why? Because they are choosing clubs that they feel like they need to hit as far as possible to get closest to the green as possible. Or they feel like they need to hit it as far as possible. When in reality is, you don't really need to do that. And I'll tell you a little bit why that is. You just need something that you're not going to lose. Oh. Ooh, hold it. Oh, look at that. What a shot. I just need a reliable wedge in my hand. The reason why I said you only need a reliable tee shot to not go out of bounds is because statistically, most people are going to have a wedge on their hand on their 3rd shot, or their 4th shot on a par 4, or the 2nd shot on a par 3. So as long as we don't start off by adding another stroke by hitting it out of bounds, you're going to leave yourself in a good spot. I intentionally left the 2nd shot short so I can show you what a reliable short game can do for you. You need a reliable wedge shot. So what do I mean actually when I say reliable? I mean 1, not losing the ball, and 2, good contact. And the reason why people struggle with number 2 is because they are trying to add too much yardage onto their swings. How many times have you watched your friend take a club and they say they're gonna swing easy, and then they try to swing out of their shoes, and they're off balance after the shot? We've done it, we've all been there, but that's not reliable. Most of the time, you can get a much more reliable contact with the ball by half or 3/4 swinging. And what I really mean by that is the distance in your backswing, the feeling of it, right? Not the actual what it is. Now, if you can go here and swing as hard as you can, okay. But for most people, trying to get a smoother tempo and accepting letting the club do the work, you're going to get better results. At least that's what I did when I was getting better. So now I have a feeling, even though it looks like a full backswing on camera, I have a feeling where I'm only going back around 3/4. And I also have a feeling that I'm not swinging ever very hard. The mistake that a lot of people make with an iron in the hand off the tee is they think I have an iron in my hand, so I need to swing harder to make up for the distance that I'm losing by not hitting a driver. And because of that, you are losing reliability with your contact. Oh. We're fine. Now that you are thinking about how do I get reliable, good contact, you need to figure out what are my reliable golf clubs. Now for most people, that's probably gonna be a mid-iron and lower, as long as you're not swinging out of your shoes. So the driver and long irons and long woods are probably not going to be that reliable. Hybrids, maybe like a 5-wood and lower, can be reliable for people. What you can use to figure out your game is obviously the driving range before the round, and you can figure out, well, where's my ball going? How's my contact doing? How is the shape of the ball doing, whatever it is. Or you can use the first few holes as kind of a threshold benchmark of where my game is at today. Because once I get a gauge of where my game is at today, well, then I can adjust accordingly for the rest of the round. So I said before in a video, giving yourself for the first 2-3 holes as kind of mental warm-up holes are going to help you try to figure out, all right, where is my game at? What clubs should I use and which clubs should I not use? Wow, these are way slower than what I'm used to. It's okay. Oh, a whole lot of water up in there. Bogey's fine. But once you figure out where that is, then we can properly play course management for the rest of the round. Now, these more straightforward type of holes are where people lose a lot of strokes because they think it's very easy. And I'm gonna pull out the driver to make an example out of it. Now, for a lot of people, they see this hole and they think, all right, I can miss left and I can miss right. So I can have a two-way miss, which means my driver can come into play, which is technically true. Because if I miss right, I'm on the other fairway. If I miss left, I'm in the rough, right? If I miss way left, it's out of bounds, but we're probably not gonna miss that far left. So you pull out your driver and you hope for the best of luck hitting it down the driveway, hitting it down the fairway. Is that a good play? Well, one, I don't know where my driver is going today because I didn't warm up. If I was on the driving range, maybe I would know, but we're gonna see where is it going today and hope it goes right down the middle. And it went right down the middle. However, I could still achieve that with a 6-iron in my hand. That was a best case scenario shot. I did not swing hard, right? Because I wanted to try to keep it in play. But the best case scenario is I have a wedge in my hand after that shot. The worst case scenario is I'm adding 1 to 2 strokes already straight off the bat. Is it more reliable to play that shot, hope for the best, or pull out a 7 or a 6-iron and hit it into the fairway? If I have a 7 or a 6-iron into the fairway here, what am I gonna have in my second shot? Well, I'm probably gonna have a short iron or I'm gonna have a wedge in my hand, depending on the type of hole, right? If anything, I'll have a mid-iron. However, now that I hit a really good drive and it stayed in place, I still have a wedge in my hand. So I can still miss the green even from 50 yards away, just like I can miss the green from 150 yards away. Now, of course, you will be more reliable closer to the green that you are. However, the reality is you are still gonna miss greens and have a wedge in your hand for your third shot. And that's why you need a reliable wedge game to actually score well. The number one thing you don't wanna do is try to get cute with a wedge in your hand. So all I wanna do is try to think, how do I land it on the big old green plate over there, any spot possible to get a wedge in my hand. I don't need to land it at the flag. I just need to land it near or on the green. We are on the green and we are putting, and that's all that we want. When you are trying to play best case scenario golf, you are going to add on so many more strokes than you actually need to. So if my driver is unreliable, I only really want to pull it out, well, when I have confidence in it. I know if I miss, it's not going to be lost. For most people though, you're going to score better by just finding a reliable off the tee club. I gotta remember that they're slow. That's an easy par again. A reliable tee shot is going to save you so many more strokes than hitting driver and trying to go long every single time. Don't chase distance, chase accuracy. By having a reliable tee shot, you are gonna be leaving yourself in better positions more than leaving yourself in positions where you need to punch out or you hit it out of bounds. And now you're trying to convince your friends that you didn't hit it out of bounds and you're just gonna drop it around 260 yards down the fairway when in reality you never hit it 260 yards in your life. Finding a reliable club off the tee is going to do wonders for you because your approach shot, it matters and it doesn't really matter for many people. And for the same reason why I've been mentioning where a wedge shot, a reliable wedge shot is going to be key to scoring better. By not losing it off the tee and adding strokes off the bat, you're going to have a wedge in your hand for your third shot because you're not gonna get a green in regulation that often. So let me show you. So I'm gonna leave it short so we can get a wedge in our hand, even on a par 3. Okay, well, I actually accidentally went on, but we'll drop it. So let's say that my reliable iron is only 150 yards. So I dropped it here to simulate that. Well, now I have a wedge in my hand. I have a 30-yard shot and I have a wedge in my hand. Now, a lot of people are gonna end up in this position, whether they like it, hit a reliable shot or not, because the more unreliable your clubs are, the bigger your dispersion is, or the more chances that you are going to top or chunk it. So if my reliable club is only 150 yards, you can play every single hole that you will ever need to with whatever distance and still have a par chance every single time. Now I have a wedge in my hand, so now it's up to my wedge shot on here to get it on the green for a chance for par. Can I do that? Let's find out. There we go. We have a long putt for par. It doesn't really matter where it is, we're just on the green, and that's all we need. Reliable wedge shot really only requires you to get it on the green. A lot of people are trying to get too cute with a wedge in their hand, or you're trying to hit a wedge too hard by taking too much loft when you don't need it. If you have never spun the ball back in your life, today's not the day that it's gonna happen. If you have never made it stop on a dime, today's not the day that's gonna make it happen. Don't hit a wedge thinking that you're going to do those trick shots that you would never been able to do. So what do I mean by you only need 150 yards to be able to play every single hole that you will ever need in your life? Now that's like an average distance. If you have more distance than that, great. If you have less than that, that's fine, because you are probably gonna be playing more forward tees. And what I mean by less than that is any reliable club that goes less than that, not out of bounds. Let's take a 600-yard par 5, for example. You're not gonna really face those ever. But if you break that down, 150, 150, that's 300 yards. 2 more shots, I'm on the green if my club for 150 is reliable. And then I have a putt for par. If I'm playing a 400-yard par 4, right, then I have 2 150-yard shots, and then I have a 100-yard shot with a wedge in my hand. Simple math. Don't try to overcomplicate it. But the reality is, a lot of people aren't going to try to hit the reliable shot. They're going to try to hit the shot as far as possible. So if I have my 150 shot club in my hand right now, I don't want to try to hit this 180. I just want to hit my normal, smooth, reliable shot. And I'm going to play this par 5 with only that 150-yard shot. I broke my tee. I have my 3rd shot here. I have 180 yards left. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna hit another 9-iron. We're gonna have a wedge in it. I want you to look at this. I only played that with a 9-iron, and still I went a little bit past pin high with the 9-iron. Why? Because if you hit it 150 yards, well, it can bounce and roll like it did for this shot. Right? So you can still hit it up to a total like 170, 160, depending on how high you hit it. But you don't need very much distance to score well. You just need reliability. Did any shot on this hole feel like it was out of my control? Not in the slightest, right? Why? Because one, when I have an iron in my hand, especially off the tee, or on my 2nd or 3rd shot, whatever shot it is, I'm not chasing distance, I'm chasing reliability. I'm chasing accuracy. So as long as you know, hey, I know how to swing this club and make good contact, you can score well. And ultimately, you're still gonna have a wedge in your hand for your final, for your birdie chance, I guess you could say, on most holes. If you get a green in regulation, great. Be happy with that. Think of it as like a little extra nugget that you find in the bag. But don't try to chase it if you don't have the reliability to do that. That was just a bad. A lot of people just want to get up there, hit driver, hit it as far as possible. Hey, if you want to do that, it is your game and your score. I'm not going to fault you. If you are trying to learn how to score better, well, then you need to learn how to score better. And reliability is going to get you there. So learning how to hit reliable clubs and eventually reliable wedge shots are going to help you score better. So let's talk about reliable wedge shot. Oh, terrible. And now that we've conquered the tee shot, let's talk about building a reliable wedge shot. You never want to think about missing your approach shot. That's not what I'm trying to convey. But the reality is, while I'm trying to get it on the green, I'm probably not going to hit the green statistically. If I do, great. If I don't, that is where thinking about the wedge shot really is going to come into play. Hopefully that doesn't go too far. Damn it. I hit that perfectly. I tried to hit a pitching wedge below 150 yards and I did not. So let's hit this, let's hit the second one. Should try to get us around the green. Okay. Okay, perfect. Reliability with a wedge is really about being honest with yourself. Which wedge in my bag do I feel most comfortable with? Start there. Once you know that, then you need to accurately check the distances that you have. A lot of people try to convince themselves that they can get the feel for the wedge shot, when the reality is you don't practice enough for a feel with your wedge shot. So if I tell myself I have 30 yards to the middle here, in my mind, now I know I have 30 yards. My body knows I have 30 yards. Which club do I feel comfortable hitting at least 20 yards? So if the flag is in the middle, what I don't want to do with my wedge is try to hit it 30 yards. Why? Because most of us are not going to spin it and stop it on a dime, especially at 30 yards. So anything below around 50 yards, for most people, you're probably going to do better with a wedge in your hand by hitting it around 5 yards shorter, if you have that distance control. Most people may not, but it is the thought about, hey, I'm not trying to land this at the flag, I'm trying to land this on the green. So I always take a distance of what is the front and what is the middle, and maybe what is the back. But as long as I cover the front, I know this club will be comfortable for me. So as long as I hit this 15 yards, I know I will have a putter in my hand. I don't want to hit this 30 yards because it's not going to stop and then it's going to roll. So I'm not going to have reliability. So that's a mistake that you make mentally in your brain a little bit. So I'm going to try to hit this around 20 yards. Can I hit this club 20 yards? Of course I can. I can hit a pitching wedge. I can hit a 50 degree, 54 degree. What I don't want to do is start adding too much loft on these short chips. Why? Because if I add too much loft and I don't know how to hit down on the ball, well, then I'm going to thin it, and I'm going to thin it past it. Because if I have a 60 degree in my hand, it's going to take a little bit more force than if I had a pitching wedge in my hand. And because I'm adding a little bit more force, if I thin it, it's going to go sailing over the green. There we go. So now we got a putt in our hand, and that's all we want. Getting accuracy in your putting is very easy. Or I say getting consistency with your putting is very easy. All you really need to do is set a line on your ball, and then accuracy is done. I don't need to think about accuracy anymore. I just need to think about a smooth putting stroke, the distance that I need it. You can even use that line on the tee box to better align yourself with where you need to go. If you put the line on the ball, line it up to your target, and then all you need to think about is swinging through that line on the ball. Fade back, please. Now, if you are struggling with reliability with a wedge in your hand, for accuracy, most greens are fairly big when you think about it, right? So most greens you're gonna get on and have a long putt. How many long putts have we had in the last few rounds of golf that we ever played? But if you are having distance control, if you're having accuracy control with your wedge, it is likely, at least in my history, it is likely because I was choosing the wrong club and swinging too hard. Because I felt like, well, really good players would take a 56 here and then they would hit it and it would just land and stop. When in reality is, I didn't have that skill. So what I do now is I take a much more smoother swing on my wedge shots, and that helps my control much better. Of course, I got better over time, but thinking about smooth swing shots with my wedges in my hand is going to produce more accuracy and reliability that way. As opposed to thinking I have 70 yards or I got 100 yards, I need to hit my club that only goes 70 or 100 yards. That is going to introduce more dispersion because you will have to swing more full and more wildly when you don't need to. So club down, swing smooth, and never lose balance when you have a wedge in your hand. If you're losing your balance or falling backwards when you have a wedge in your hand, you are doing something wrong. There we go. Now on a last point, let's say that you have a wedge in your hand and you know I have the distance for this and it's not a full swing and I'm still worried about accuracy. Well, then that is likely anxiety getting into your head about I need to land this, somewhere on the green, and I'm worried about being able to do that. You don't need to think that. You only need to think, hey, I can do this because you can, because I'm not full swinging. I just need to worry about focusing on contact with the ball. Just a smooth swing and focusing on contact, and let the accuracy happen naturally. It's very hard, once you realize, it's very hard to have bad accuracy with the wedge because it's so high lofted and it spins so much, it's not going to shape very much. So as long as my swing path is aiming towards the target, you're gonna hit the ball to that spot. If I am swinging out of control, my club face can be all over the place and my swing path can be all over the place, and then it's going to go all over the place. So as long as I'm thinking swing path to the target, which you should be thinking with your wedge in your hand, the ball will go where you want it. And that's good news. Hole in one? Oh, oh man. Could you imagine if I got a hole in one right there? That would have been, oh, the ball landed a putter and a half length away from the hole. Now, the reason why I didn't really focus on putting in this video is because putting is very easy to get reliable. It's really just working on distance control, which is something that you need to actually practice doing. And it really depends on the speed of the green. But once you learn how to read the greens, which I'm not gonna talk about because that's not my expertise, once I get a vague idea of where the ball is gonna go, I use the line on the ball, that is all you need to think about. And then you only need to think about distance control and swinging through the ball. From there, it's very easy. Oh, it broke a little bit. From there, it's very simple. You just hit the putt. Don't think about 3 putting, only think about 2 putting and 1 putting, but it's very simple. Anyway, I'm gonna leave you on that mark, almost getting a hole in one. And hopefully you learned something a little bit about thinking a little bit more of reliability in your game. And we'll talk more next time. Like and subscribe if you're still watching anyway.